Well, it's official, the Wii U is dead, long live the Switch. Now granted, the Wii U was a commercial failure, had almost no third-party AAA titles, and its last year was embarrassing to say the least, but I still liked it. For all the flack that the system got, it did have some really great games, and I'm here today to count down the best of those games. So what qualifies? Well, simple. I have to have played it on the Wii U, and I'm not counting the eShop. And one last thing to clear up is that this is obviously just my personal opinion. So there may be some games for the Wii U that you really like that don't make the list. That's kind of how these things work. Let's get started. I know I might catch some people off guard with this, but this game is on the list instead of Mario 3D World. Some of you may be surprised, but sorry, I view Mario 3D World as kind of a good game, but it's really watered down and has all the worst aspects of the new Super Mario Bros. Games. And Nintendo basically said, yeah, this is it. This is your 3D Mario game for the Wii U. Now take it and shut up. Which, sorry, not good enough for me. Captain Toad Treasure Tracker took all the best aspects of 3D World, such as how the levels looked, the double cherries, and the clear pipes, and just kind of did its own thing with it. Yes, I know, I'm well aware that the Captain Toad mini-games were in Mario 3D World. However, they really expanded on them with this, and it still is a pretty fresh concept. I did like a lot of the ideas for the levels in the Mario 3D World, but I think it's much better to be going through them on a sort of puzzle-solving deal rather than just, oh hey, it's new Super Mario Bros. But in 3D. At least in terms of what I want to do. I don't have as much to say about this game, as it is a lot simpler than the other ones on this list, but sometimes simplicity is all you need. Ah, Wonderful 101, the game that no one would shut up about when it came out, but almost no one actually bought. Let's be fair here, this was made by Platinum Games, essentially the Double Fine of beat-em-ups. They make great games, but they have trouble getting people to actually buy them. But anyway, what is Wonderful 101 about? Well, aliens are invading, and you have a team of superheroes who can literally combine to form giant weapons to fight the aliens with. But such an over-the-top concept requires over-the-top action to back it up. And trust me, this delivers on that. The action in this game is freaking insane. Not particularly in normal combat, but when it comes to the cinematic sequences, oh boy, they are something. The characters in this game are good too. The main heroes of the Wonderful 101 are freaking hilarious. Seeing all their different personalities bounce off each other and react to the situations in the game was probably my favorite part of the entire thing. The story is also pretty good too. It starts off kinda low-key, but it gets better as the game goes on. Except for them constantly trying to shoehorn in Luca. Seriously, who thought that was a good idea? In the end, this is a really enjoyable game, and I would definitely recommend it if you're a fan of beat-em-ups. The thing is, I'm actually not that big a fan of beat-em-ups, which is why it's lower on the list. Well, the original Epic Mickey was one of my favorite Wii games, so it would only make sense that Epic Mickey 2 would be one of my favorite Wii U games. Now, a while back I said I liked these two games equally, however, as time went on, I started to realize that I like the original more. Why do I think this? Well, Epic Mickey 2 is half the length of the original, doesn't have the same darker edge that the original had. Also, the slowdown. Oh boy, is it bad. Nope, there's nothing wrong with your computer, it's the game's fault. And the co-op, as much as it was hyped up, was pretty tacked on. I mean, did anyone really want co-op with Epic Mickey? It's like co-op with a main series Zelda game. It's just not really something that fits. But that's just one of Warren Spector's insane ideas for this game. The other one being making it a musical, and that really paid off. I'll admit it's kind of disappointing that it's almost entirely the Mad Doctor singing, but all the songs are pretty good. In addition to that, I think there are some other things in this game that were changed from the original for the better, such as making Mean Street bigger, making your choices matter a lot more, and especially upping the number and the complexity of the side quests. In the end, while Epic Mickey 2 might not be as good as the original, it still is a lot of fun, and I would recommend picking it up if you're a fan of the original. Too bad that'll be hard to do considering the fact that this game bombed. And now we'll probably never get Epic Mickey 3. Although, with Psychonauts 2 on the horizon, I suppose anything's possible. Mario Kart 8. What? It's Mario Kart. Obviously it's going to be on the list. Then again, some of the other more obvious Wii U games aren't on here, so I guess I shouldn't be harping on that too much. It combines a bunch of aspects from past games, such as customizing karts and flying in underwater from Mario Kart 7 and the bikes from Mario Kart Wii. Plus, now there's anti-gravity and a way to counter that stupid blue shell. Now there's DLC, so there's more than 32 tracks in the game for once. But is this my favorite Mario Kart game? No, not really. While it did have a pretty good assortment of retro tracks, the new ones I honestly think paled in comparison to Mario Kart 7 and Mario Kart Wii. Also, while I don't want to throw my hat into the ring about the debate over which characters should have been in the game, mainly because that's kinda ridiculous, I will say it makes it seem like you're grasping at straws when you're including characters like Baby Rosalina and Pink Gold Peach. But even still, just like any other Mario Kart game, this was a lot of fun. Shantae, Half Genie Hero. I said I was looking forward to this game, and I was right to be looking forward to it, because it's really good. I like the visuals. They're really vibrant and cartoony, and they look great. The gameplay is really similar to the Pirate's Curse, only this time you have the transformations again, instead of Risky's items. And since I haven't really played much of the other Shantae games, using the powers is still kinda new to me. I found most of them pretty useful, and it was fun to try to unlock them all. Now, one problem that some people might have with the game is the backtracking, but I actually really liked it. I know that sounds weird, but I found it a lot of fun to go back to past areas and be able to get items that I never could before with all the new powers that I've gotten. That is kind of a thing I like to do in games, going around collecting items, even if I know that I'm not going to be able to get 100%. Although I came pretty darn close in this game. If there's one issue I have with the game, it's that while the dialogue is really well written, the story leaves a lot to be desired. Don't get me wrong, it's not like it's bad or anything, it's just that each individual level has its own story, and there's not really much of an overarching plot. Even with other games I've played where each level has its own story, they did have a good enough plot that encompassed the whole game surrounding it. But that aside, this still is a really good game, and I would recommend it even if you don't have a Wii U, because it's pretty multi-platform, so you don't need one to get it. LEGO Dimensions, the ultimate crossover. No, I'm not kidding, seriously. When is the last time you've ever seen a crossover on this large of a scale? Batman, Back to the Future, Lord of the Rings, The Simpsons, Scooby-Doo, Portal, The Ghostbusters. That's just a handful of the properties, and I'm not even counting year 2. Outside of Smash Brothers, I don't think I've ever seen a crossover on this large of a scale. And I've never seen one that takes this much advantage of the fact that it's a crossover. They constantly poke fun at a bunch of the stuff relating to the different worlds, not to mention have a bunch of, well, crossing over. It sounds too good to be true, and in a way, it kind of is. Is the game bad? Well, it's on a list of my favorite games on the Wii U, so obviously not. The problem is that it's expensive. This is a Skylanders style game, as I'm sure most of you are already aware. But the real issue here is the fact that the base game is 90 bucks. That's the game without any of the other add-ons. And if you're a completionist who wants all the packs, well, that's going to put you in debt almost as fast as having actual Legos as your hobby. Also, another flaw I have with the game, the driving controls are pretty bad, and the levels, while mostly fun, can get repetitive at times. But even then, most of the time they're good, the humor's on point, and a crossover this massive is something that you just can't refuse if you can afford it. Make way for the game that got more hype than any other game on the Wii U ever, Smash Bros. There's so much to say about this game. The hype leading up to it, the actual quality of the game itself with such a good roster that ended up getting even bigger thanks to DLC. Not to mention there's also a bunch of little things that are really cool, like Master Core and the improved level editor. Also, having 4 Glory and 4 Fun be separate in the online play is really nice. That way you don't have to put up with a bunch of people who are, alright bro, Final Destination, Fox, no items, let's go. If you do anything else, then you are officially not a hardcore Smash player. Sure, adventure mode's gone, and it's gone for an incredibly stupid reason, but I think the game had enough content to make up for that. Also, having the Smash ballot was a really cool idea, letting the fans choose what characters should be in the game. I really hope they do that again. Actually, on second thought, that's probably a bad idea. We don't want everyone voting for Shrek again, do we? If you ever want a good game to play co-op with your friends, Rayman Legends is the game for you. Well, unless you want to play a beat 'em up, because those are really good. But with the exception of team-based games, I can't think of a single better co-op game outside of the beat 'em up genre. Sure, they give you some ways to mess with your friends, but it's never too bad. Also, thanks to the game's linearity, you're typically not going to have two people going off in polar opposite directions and screwing everything up. But that's just why the co-op's good. Why is the rest of the game good? The visuals in this game blew me away when I first played it. They don't amaze me nearly as much now as they did back in the day, but they still look pretty good. Even if all the characters play basically the same, there still are a lot to unlock, so you at least have a variety of appearances. The controls are really good, giving you all your typical actions in a platformer. One thing that's atypical about that, though, is the swimming controls, as those are actually really good. As a result, the water levels aren't really dreaded and are actually pretty fun. In fact, all the levels are pretty fun. This sort of works as a double-edged sword, because on one hand, no matter what level you play, you know you're going to have a good time, but on the flip side, most of the levels aren't very memorable. So, you likely aren't going to remember a level that you like and go back to play it. That is, of course, with the exception of the music levels. Whoever came up with this idea deserves a medal and a raise. It's freaking genius. You're doing a 2D platforming level, and the game forces you to do it to the beat of the music. Seriously, if you've never played one of these levels for yourself, look them up on YouTube. They're friggin' amazing. And even though this game wasn't a console exclusive, the Wii U was still the ideal way to play it because of the Murphy stuff. However, since the Switch has a touch screen, that might change in a few months. If there's one video game sequel I've ever been excited for, it would be Psychonauts 2. But if there was a second video game sequel that I was really excited for, it would be Pikmin 3. Out of all the games on the Wii U, this is the one that I was the most excited for. And that's saying a lot considering things like Smash Bros. And Splatoon. And you know what? It really delivered. Pikmin 3 improves just about every aspect you can improve with the Pikmin games. You now have 3 characters instead of 2, and they also have dialogue, which gives them a lot more personality than characters in the past games. The 30-day time limit is still gone, but now you do have something that forces you to keep moving, even if it is a bit more lenient than it should be. You got brand new useful types of Pikmin, and the purples are gone from single player. Because, you know, in Pikmin 2, the combat was pretty much just spam everything with purples and you win. And just like last time, the areas are even bigger this time around. They just keep getting bigger each time. Maybe in Pikmin 4, it'll be Breath of the Wild size, and you can land the rocket in several places on the same map. The way I positioned those words made it sound like a joke, but now that I think about it, it's actually a pretty good idea. Just something to think about, Nintendo. And then there's the biggest feature, which seems like a small one, but I assure you, it's not. The Go Here function. Back in Pikmin 2, I never really saw much of a purpose of having Olimar and Louie separate, as you can't just have one go to a separate place. You have to move both of them manually, so you're not really saving that much time by doing that. Here though, thanks to the Go Here function, I constantly have the captains separate and have them going around the map trying to be as efficient as possible. It seems the game really does want to encourage this kind of speedrunning because it lets you watch a replay of everything you did that day in order to see what you did right and what you did wrong, and will even let you replay any day in order to get a more favorable outcome. I only really have 2 issues with this game. One, they got rid of the Picklepedia. I really missed that feature. And second, the game's pretty short. You can beat it pretty quickly, even if there is a lot of fruit to collect. But hey, guess that's just all the more stuff to fix for Pikmin 4, as well as adding even more awesome stuff that no one even thought of. Now, as you've been watching this video, you were likely paying attention to what was on the list. You know, like a normal person. However, the more observant, long-time viewers of mine may have been paying more attention to what's not on the list. You see, there's one Wii U game that I've given a lot of love on this channel, and it hasn't been on the list yet. And that's because it's right here. At number 1. Yep, that's right. You can facepalm all you want, but it's not gonna change a thing. Number 1 on this list, My favorite Wii U game of all time is Lego City Undercover. Now I know what some of you are thinking. Really? A Lego game at number 1 on a Wii U games list that didn't even have things like Splatoon, Mario 3D World, Super Mario Maker, or Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze? What's wrong with you? And if you didn't know much about this game and were to just assume that it was just another generic Lego game, then yeah, I kinda couldn't blame you. But Lego City Undercover is special. You know how Lego makes a bunch of sets and video games about the various properties that they have the rights to? Well, this game is as close to a Lego GTA as they could get and still get away with it. What is there to say about the game? I should probably start with the GTA thing because that's the thing I use to convince you all that I'm not crazy. The gameplay in this game really is a mix between the typical Lego game gameplay and the sandbox stuff that you'd find in a Saints Row game. On the Lego side, you've got the typical building and puzzle solving that the Lego games are known for, coupled with a huge city to go around and explore and a bunch of car chases. But it's okay because you're playing as a police officer, even though you rob banks and help out the mafia in this game. Also, one thing I think most of the people who have played this game knew I had to talk about is the humor. This might just be the funniest game I've ever played. What makes it so funny? Well, aside from the fact that the story is essentially a massive parody of cop dramas, you have a large cast of hilarious and likable characters, witty writing, over-the-top antics, and enough movie references to make Conker's Bad Fur Day blush. Also, one thing I just gotta wonder, since both Lego games and sandbox games are infamous for being difficult to complete, I wonder how bad it is to complete this game. The completionist should totally tackle it at some point. There you have it, Lego City Undercover. Definitely a worthwhile Wii U exclusive. Wait, what? What's that? Oh, okay. I'm Defoffalizer, and long live the Nintendo Switch.